Hey everybody, welcome back to American History with Mr. Finn. Today we are going to be continuing on with our story, our changing of our culture here in America, because we're talking about the dates, if you remember, post-Reconstruction. So we were basically around 1880, and we're rolling towards, let's just take a year, 1910. Which is a 30-year period. Quick recap, we are seeing this transformation of industry really taking off. And we had this growing wage gap, this idea of social Darwinism where like only the strong survive in business. And we're seeing, a market economy and capitalism take off. And it's going from that old way of thinking of the household economy where you made everything, small towns. Remember even in the beginning of our country, New York only had like 20,000 people who lived in New York. By the time we're getting into this era, we're talking about millions of people are starting to, come to these big cities looking for work and factories, all being driven off of industrialization. The beginning of building with steel and bridges and roads and canals and railroads and telegraphs, and it's a huge change in a short amount of time. And so today we're going to add another ingredient to this time period of these growth of cities, growth of industry, changing of society, and another change. Here it comes, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to see our second wave of immigration. All right, second wave of immigration. If you remember, which I know you do because I see it on the quizzes, you remember our first wave of immigration were the Germans and the Irish, and it was happening in the 1840s to 1860s. Now we're in this era. We're going to see our second wave of immigration. Now, here's the thing. Let's get back to looking at immigration. Immigration brings people together, all right? This is the way that you learn about new cultures and new things and everything else. You bring people together. However, with immigration, there's always a group of people who don't like that change. People in general are not always excited about things changing. And immigration is certainly a change. You live a certain way, and all of a sudden, a whole new group of people come in with new ideas, new cultural ideas, new things, new languages, new stuff, all change. And some people accept that change and grow from it. Some people don't want to have that change happen. So every time we get another wave of immigration, we do see issues pop up. Even with the Germans and the Irish, the people who lived here in the United States weren't always like, yeah, more people, this is great. Let's learn about these new people. I never heard about this or never heard about that. A lot of people didn't want the Irish and did not want the Germans to come in to the United States of America. So we see that back and forth when we have these waves of immigration. And we get another wave smack dab in the middle of this major industrial change, especially in the north. So, who's in this wave of immigration? Well, our second wave of immigration would be Italians, Slavs, which is a group of people from more Eastern Europe, Greeks. We have a large Jewish population comes in. I think I'm actually on the page. Let me take a look. Russian, it says Russian Jews here. Armenians, which, are another European group. But really, I think the most important thing would be to label them Eastern and Southern Europeans. All right. So that tells you the difference here, and I'll explain why. Eastern and Southern Europeans are coming from a different area than our first initial Europeans to come to America. Now, if you remember, oh, my nose is itchy. Now, if you remember, if the beginning of U.S. history, we had obviously the English. We had the Spanish come into the modern-day Mexico area. But we had the English, we had French settlers in Canada, and the fur trapping. That's on quizzes sometimes. The Irish are from northwestern Europe, just like the French and the English. The Germans are considered Western Europe. So all of those people, those groups coming in those, beginning and first wave of immigration, are going to have a similar culture, similar complexion, kind of look the same. I mean, if you looked at an Irish person and an English person, you'd be like, looks like you wouldn't know any different. So culturally, small differences, but not major differences. This wave of immigration are bringing in people who are going to have very distinct, separate cultural norms than those Western Europeans. So now you're looking at Eastern and Southern Europeans. And so just because you say someone's from Europe does not mean everyone from there is the same. You have these distinct different areas. So these groups are going to, and there's a lot of different groups coming in. That's another thing about the second wave of immigration. Our first wave of immigration was really just the Irish and the Germans, like two groups of people. Now this second wave could be an all kinds of number. Like I said, I mean, not even on there what I have, the Armenians, and then the Russian Jewish population. So there was a lot of different groups coming in. And so what we're going to start to see and they're all going to do the same thing, just like anyone would. These new groups of people coming in, where do you think they're going to go? Makes sense here. They're going to go to cities. Why do they go to cities? Jobs. J-O-B, jobs. You do get some people who come to the United States with the dream of owning land and moving westward. And some people do move westward, but generally speaking, most people who come here in this wave of immigration are going to settle in cities. Like the normal cities, New York and Boston. There are people who go to Chicago and Philadelphia, Baltimore, major cities, because that's where the jobs are. That's where the factories are. So, unfortunately, what you're going to see is cities are not huge land areas, right? Cities are fairly compact. They're small in the amount of land that they possess or take up. However, they have really high populations, which means you take a small area and then you throw millions of people into that small area, you're coming face to face with this immigration. There's nowhere to hide. If you don't like this second wave of immigration, you're out of luck. If you're in the city, you are going to come into contact with all of these new people, and it's going to be a thing. So what we're going to see happen in these cities during this second wave of immigration, go to cities, you're going to see that, basically it's called this. Segregation. Live with your own people. Segregation has a negative connotation because it's basically saying, I don't want to be around anybody else. I want to be only around my people. I don't want to be, I'm not up for this learning, growing, sharing anything, right? So segregation, we're going to see that term again when we get 50 years from this time period in a much different way. But these cities will get segregated. And it does make sense in a way. Because think about this. Say you're an Italian who comes to America. What's going to make you feel comfortable going into a strange land in this huge city? You used to live on a farm in Italy. Now you live in New York City. You don't know anything. And then you hear people speaking Italian. And you're like, hey, I speak Italian. What's going on? You can help me out. I don't know anything. What do I do? Where do I go? I need help. So what happens is you get segregation in these cities out of, this is going to come out of comfort. Comfort, safe, stability. It's what everyone wants. So That is why this happens. In fact, you even see this today if you go to certain cities to this day still have places like Chinatown, for example. Little Italy in New York City was a place where it was in a historically Italian neighborhood because that's where the Italians congregated because there was a comfort level with those people. So cities are going to become segregated. You're going to have different neighborhoods where different groups of people live, but the population is going to skyrocket in those areas, in those cities, because that's where the jobs are and that's where people are going to come into. Here's another problem. The more people that you have living in a city, that means that there's more people trying to get jobs. So if you own a company or you own a business, there's hundreds, thousands of people that want to work for your company. If you don't want to work for my company for $1 a week, guess what? This Greek man will work for 50 cents a week because he just wants a job he's happy for. So get out of here. So this population going up is not going to be good for the workers, the everyday people, because that means that factory owners, business owners could actually pay less to have workers, which means that if you're poor, you're going to get more poor. One day you go to work and they say, listen, we got to drop your wages. It's like, why? Well, if you don't want it, because I'll hire someone else who will. I can save money that way. Sorry, you only get $1 a week now. Well, I don't want it. Okay, I'll hire you for 50 cents a week. Okay, I just saved that money. So this ends up not being a great thing for the working class, but it is taking place in the middle of this. Now, the last thing about immigration, you have two stops. This is what you're going to look at today. So you have Ellis Island and you have Angel Island. Drop my eraser. You have Ellis Island and Angel Island. I'm going to have you look them up today, but I'm going to give you a little brief explanation of them. So as these people come in, they're coming in from all over. So there's a major concern about, is there disease, illness, anything that could harm other people in the cities that they're coming into. In the second wave of immigration, you will see Asian populations come in as well. Asian populations from, could be anything, could be China, Japan, primarily Korea. Those are the primary big ones that come in from Asia. Asia is on the, you're not looking at a map right here, but let me explain this. To come to the United States of America from Asia, it would be quicker and easier to come into the west coast of the United States of America, a place like San Francisco or like where LA is today. If you're coming from Europe, it's easier to come into the East Coast, which is New York and Boston, those cities like that. So that's why we have two here. Ellis Island is going to be in New York. Angel Island is going to be off the coast of San Fran. And because I want to make sure I give you the proper, just to be 100%, Angel Island in San Francisco. Good. I knew it, but I didn't want to give you misinformation. So Ellis Island's in New York, Angel Island's in San Francisco. Primarily, Angel Island is going to be the place where before you're allowed to come technically into the United States of America, you need to they test you, they give you a quarantine period if you are ill, they make sure that you have documentation, everything that you need, they check you off and they record your name, who you're with, and all that stuff. Like it's record keeping to make sure they keep tabs on everyone that's coming into the United States of America. In Ellis Island in New York, that would be primarily where these groups would be coming in, and they would go through the process of going through Ellis Island to do the same exact thing. Documentation, what's your name, who are you, where are you coming from, for record keeping purposes. If you're sick or you have some disease, quarantine period, and that's what you do in those places. So you can actually go to Ellis Island today and walk through. These no longer are operating. However, Think about this. Millions of people went through these places. Millions of people went through these two areas. And your assignment today is going to be to give me 3 facts and 3 facts. 3 fun facts. Think about it like that. 3 facts about Ellis Island. 3 facts about Angel Island. That's what you're looking up today, and that's going to be your assignment. To give me a basic description of those, what you find about those 2 places. But the important part today, before I let you go. No, we're good. The important part today is just to understand this. Our country is becoming populated. It's becoming what the United States of America is today through these different waves of immigration. If you go to certain cities in America, you will see a lot of different people living together. Some still in their own neighborhoods and things like that. But the United States of America has people living here from all over the world. That is not always the case when we're talking about different countries. So the United States is unique in that way where people from everywhere came to the United States of America. You can go to other countries today and find people from different countries living there. You can go to England. England has a large population of people from the Middle East, for example, as do we, here in the United States. But what you're not going to see is this massive group. Like some of our big cities on the East Coast, you could hear 5 different languages just walk into the store. We have a lot. That is what the United States of America is. So these waves of immigration that come in are very important to making up what our country is today. Different areas have different people. You could go to certain states and see a much higher population of a certain group of people. You go to certain cities and see a much higher group of, different races and people and cultures. But all in all, if you take the entire United States of America, we have lots and lots of people from different cultures, different countries, different places living here, and that is a cornerstone of what makes the United States of America. And it does cause issues at times, but it can be a very powerful thing and you can learn a lot from other people. So if you're going to be one of the 2 groups of people that I described, try to be one of the people who want to learn about other cultures, accept other cultures, find out about other cultures. Don't be the other group who's like, no, I reject change. I don't want to see these different people. I don't want this. I don't want that. Try to be accepting and learn what you can from other people, because there's a lot of good things from other groups of people in different cultures. But today, Ellis Island, Angel Island. Again, millions of people went through here. Look that up. Give me 3 facts. Make sure you turn that in today for attendance and participation purposes. And on that note, we're moving on. Let me see. Hang on. Just give you a little group here. Oh, we're starting to see some stuff. Oh, we're going into a new chapter, so I guess I can't really give you too much information. Oh, yeah, more culture change. We're going to start to see this. People now get paychecks. People now go to factory jobs. People now buy the stuff they need. When they don't work, what do? We're going to start to look at how that's going to affect our culture, because when you lived on a farm, there was no days off. You had to work every single day. So now people have shifts, and they go to work on this day, but they have leisure time. So what's going to pop up? More change of culture. So on that note, we'll look at that next time, and I will see you next class.